Hi, and welcome to Wednesday workshop series. I think this is one you're absolutely going to love. What are we looking at today? We're looking at how you can get found on Google without the need for expensive ads. My name's Ed Pearson. I'm the Senior Enterprise Officer for GBS, Global Banking School, based out of their Birmingham campus. I'm the guy up in the corner of the screen here, but the first thing I'm going to do is go and get myself out of the way so you can just focus on the slides for a short while. So let's dive into this fascinating subject about how you can get to the top of Google without all the added expense that everybody imagines that you need. So what are we actually going to cover today? So, like I said earlier, something called Get Found on Google. I want to get your business up to the very top of Google when people are looking for the product or service that you're offering. Now, what I'm about to share works really, really well for retail in particular. But if you've got a local business, it could be B2B. If you've got a local business that just relies on people within a local area, then this is fantastic for you. If you have a business that's in multiple areas, then reach out for a little bit of help and advice. This still applies. You can do it area by area. But what we're going to cover is how to get to the top of Google, particularly for retail, particularly for you if you're a local business. So what are we trying to do here? We're trying to get potential new customers to come and spend a bit of time looking at what you're offering and to hopefully spend a little bit of money with you. That's what we're all in business for after all. But the first question I really want to ask you is, where are people really searching? So your potential clients, where are they really looking to go and try and find you? Now, a lot of people out there will say, well, actually, it's Google Ads, but they would be incorrect. They're actually looking for you on Google Maps. And you might be thinking, what the heck is Google Maps? So what I did earlier today was I just dived into Google Maps to look for a business. And I thought I'd look for nail salons in Birmingham city centre. And interestingly, what's come up is three places that have arrived at the top of Google Maps. Now, you're possibly sitting there thinking, well, hang on a minute. That's all well and good, but are people really there? So what I did, I've done a little bit of digging around, and I spoke to an ex-colleague of mine. We were in business together for a while, and he does a lot around Google. And I asked him for any data or feedback that he's got around Google Maps. And during conversation, he said roughly 80% of people who are using organic or paid traffic on Google, roughly 80% of them will end up on a Google map to go and make their decision about where they're about to spend their money. Only 20% of the rest of the traffic comes off things like Google Ads and things like that that you may have heard of. So all the other stuff, it's only 20% of your audience. Now, ironically, at the time of filming, and here we are in August 24, I think there's a lot of companies that are fighting over that 20% of traffic and perhaps not really looking at Google Maps. So it costs a lot more to go after that 20% of like Google ad traffic. It's hardly any money at all. I'll give you some examples later on to go and actually advertise for Google Maps. So if we do this well, hey, even if we don't do it well, if we just do it, I think you'll start to see some results, which is why this could be so powerful. So let's get into some interesting numbers then, because I think when he first told me, I was a little bit skeptical. And I wouldn't blame you if you're listening in on this video to be a little bit skeptical too about what is possible here. So I asked him for some cold, hard numbers. Now, he works a lot up in a place called Tamworth, which is perfect to illustrate what the abilities we've got here to go and get ahead of everybody else on Google. Tamworth is it's a smallish town, but it's still got a bit of size to it, just north of Birmingham. It's a really good conurbation. It's a really good town, a really good number of population to go and highlight the real power of what is on offer here. So I asked him for some real-time figures for chiropractors in Tamworth. You don't have to worry about what a chiropractor is necessarily. But he did a quick search with me. We looked at some data together. The total volume of traffic in numbers of searches across Google at the time we looked in the UK was approximately 90,000 people, 90,000 people. And when we looked at breaking that down then into the local area, we discovered that the number of people in Tamworth looking for a chiropractor in a month was 480 of those people from the total volume. So it's a sizable number. It's a number that most businesses would be interested in. Now, we did a little bit of work in the background to have a look at what it would cost to go and have a cost per click, or to have a Google Ads campaign with some keywords that we'd researched that most people would be using to go and get some of that traffic to come to their website using Google Ads. Now, the cost of that through Google Ads, we found was roughly £1.60 per click. It was slightly a couple of pennies under that at the time, but I can't remember the exact figure if I hold my hands up. But if £1.60 a click was roughly where we're at. If you had to budget for Google Ads, that would require you to have a budget of around about £800 a month to reach out to those 480 people that are looking in your local area if you're based in Tamworth. So that starts to get interesting. Remember, it's only 480 people that are looking. It doesn't mean they're actually buying anything. So this is where we can get nervous as a business owner, and quite rightly. £800 a month for that type of return, we've got to do a lot of work to get them across the line to be customers. So that £800 isn't guaranteed sales. It's just guaranteed clicks on your website. And what I did was I had a chat with him about a chiropractor he'd worked for in Tamworth and said, well, what's your budget for getting to the top of Google Maps, or the Google Map Pack, as we call it? And he said, well, if somebody's doing it themselves, it really doesn't cost anything at all. The most we ever charge for it is about £70 a month. He said, and I think people who know what they're doing around Google Maps, who are doing this service for others, they will have a fairly low budget for doing it. Once a few things are set up, there's just a couple of things you have to keep on top of. It needs to be done properly. I'm going to share all that in this next few slides, but the cost is extremely low. Already we're looking at a £700 a month saving here for a chiropractor in Tamworth if they get perfect at getting on top of Google Map Packs. I'm going to share with you in a short while how you do that. Now, let's assume that you're thinking, okay, well, you've just picked one area for that you know works well just for the sake of a video. I also asked him for a couple of stats on a beauty salon that he works with. And this is some real life data. So the number of people that are looking for the beauty clinic in Tamworth at the moment is 1,980 people per month. Now, what they've managed to do, this company that I know, that I was chatting with, is a good friend of mine. He managed to get enough traction using Google Maps that he actually generated, this isn't just leads, but he generated 35 calls as an average week on week for a beauty clinic. Now, before he arrived was the question I then asked, because that's the next one I would normally ask. So what was happening before you turned up? Well, the numbers were a lot lower. So through all their website traffic, through the Google Ads traffic, through word of mouth, through flyers and whatever else the beauty clinic were up to, my friend has managed to get an increase of 2,185% on a normal week of how many calls they would have normally got. And the cost to the clinic using that service was £70 a month. So now this starts to get really interesting, because what that beauty clinic has done and what you can do as a business is you can start to attract people in the local area to where you're based and actually get real life business for a very low cost, but equally push your competitors out of the way for that traffic. So this is all fantastic stuff. But I did say we've got to get perfect at this. So what does perfect look like? Well, it's all about being top of your Google Map Pack. So that map I showed you earlier, you need to be at the top of that. The top 1 or 2 returns on that map, under that map, are the ones that are getting most of that business currently. And naturally now you're probably sitting down and going, well, this all sounds fantastic, but how on earth do I get there? So what we need to do with your business, or what you need to do with your business, if you want to go it alone, you need to tell Google what you do and what you want to rank for. Okay, so it's as simple as that in one respect, but equally, you're probably sitting there yelling at the screen there, going, fantastic, Ed. You still haven't told me how to do that, though. So let's get into some of the detail around how you do that. So the first thing we need to do, we need to get onto Google Maps. Okay, now there's a really good search term here because it's the one Google uses, which is how to add your business to Google Maps. So I'm going to share with you some of the bits and pieces that you need to consider, and it'll be enough to make a huge impact on your business. But it's worth having a look at the Google page and start to look through that and really go through that with a fine-tooth comb. But first of all, claim or create your business profile on Google Maps. Now, you may already have told Google and put a pin on the map, on the virtual map that they have. So you may already have a profile there. So in which case, make sure you claim that as your own. I have come across competitors who have claimed that they own stuff to go and drive traffic somewhere else. So go and just double check. But if there's nothing there and you've not done it before, then you need to create your business profile. So there's some simple bits and pieces here, but what you need to do is fill absolutely everything out that you possibly can. It's almost difficult. It's very difficult to go and get this right first time. So you want to come and revisit a couple of times. There's some simple stuff like your location or your address. Then you need to think about what category you actually operate in, and we'll touch on that again in a second. You need to get your website URL in there. So ideally, you've got a website. You're going to get your URL up. You want to get a phone number in there. Landline and mobile would be really helpful here. And also just get your opening hours in, just as a basic start. There are other options when you get onto Google Maps to fill more information out. So this is just for you to really get started and to start getting ahead of your competitors and really get you underway just fairly quickly so you can start to get a return very, very quick for your efforts. The second thing you need to do then is verify your business. And what does that mean? There'll be a few buttons. I would have shown them on the screen here, but Google will move them around a few times, and this video then would become very obsolete. But it's fairly intuitive. You'll find it easily enough. There's a button out there. It says verify my business. And what you then need to do, you look out for the postcard in the mail, and they send it to the address that you've put on that first step. And then you simply follow the instructions on the postcard. Now, make sure here that you've got into the right category, the thing I just spoke about in the last slide. You want to niche right down. And for example, I've put not a restaurant, but pizza restaurant, or perhaps in this instance, perhaps Italian restaurants. But you want to niche as much down as you can so that people can really understand what you're on offer, because Google is all about putting very precise information and data in front of the viewers on Google as a return on their searches. So the more you can niche here, the better it's going to be for the returns on your business. And Google loves very precise information. So they're going to reward you for niching. So I know there's a temptation here for everybody. Well, I've got lots of things I sell and I can sell to everybody. But what you really want to do here is talk about a niche that you can get into and really make something of. If you're struggling with that, reach out to me. My details will be here at the end of this presentation, but I'll help you with that if you're struggling. Third step, complete your listing. So you've filled out a few details, you've been verified, you've followed the instructions on the postcard that comes through the post. And now you need to complete your listing. And that's because your customers are going to prefer using your services or buying your products because you took the time to do it. But equally, Google absolutely loves it when you do this. So you're going to need a logo now at this stage. If you're struggling with that, reach out. There's a couple of students do that within GBS. We'll be happy to help you. Put a short URL up there and get some photographs up there, real ones, not stock images. Right? Google can tell the difference between stock image and the stuff you take yourself. And photos are so important in this that I'm actually going to talk about it in a little bit more detail in just a minute or so. And then finally, the fourth step, you're going to optimize your listing from here. So now there's something called a Google Keyword Planner. If you Google Keyword Planner, Google will take you to the page you need for this. So when I asked my mate, what are people searching for and how many people are looking for different search terms, we use Google Keyword Planner to tell us what people are looking for so I could get some stats together for this presentation. Now, there's also something called negative keywords. So Google will talk very much about the keywords you need to use. So we use the example of a restaurant. So you might have the words restaurant, you might have pizza restaurant, you might have Italian, Italian food, and so on. Now, it's important here that you also have a list of negative keywords, what you don't want. Let's use the Italian restaurant as an example. You might put on there Italian food. Now, Italian food might take them to the local supermarket to go and start buying sauces off the shelf, or it could be the local deli. So what you really got to do is hone in and niche into your category. So if you're not selling sauces or you're not selling, you're not a deli, but you're an Italian restaurant, you want to make sure that you're telling Google that you don't want anybody who's putting the words deli or sauces or whatever else they might search on. And you just need to build that list of keywords up, the negative keywords. Tamworth itself is the town I chose, and I chose it for one reason. And that's because Tamworth is a small town just north of Birmingham in the UK. But there is also a Tamworth in New South Wales down in Australia. And it's quite a large town in New South Wales. So if you're not very specific on your searches, quite often what you get coming back is stuff in Australia. And equally, you will be attracting people potentially from Australia who in this instance are looking for an Italian restaurant and them not realizing that they've actually come through to the wrong country, let alone the wrong restaurant. So your keyword there, your negative keyword might say not NSW, New South Wales abbreviation, not New South Wales, not Australia. And you'll start to build up your negative keywords so that when people are searching, you're only getting the customers that you really want. And by getting the customers that you really want, they will stay longer, interact with your website. Google will monitor this. If you're getting lots of people hit your website and coming off it very quickly, Google will be sitting there thinking there's a problem with this business. We don't know what it is, but your ranking will slip, which is why you need to niche. It's another reason to niche. A couple of other things now, optimizing your listing. What makes you different? Do you have wheelchair access? Do you open late on one of the days of the week? So put that information in there. What makes you the same as everybody else? So it's traditional Italian pizza toppings. It's just helping Google realize it's in the right place. Fine wine choices. Well, most restaurants will be offering some very nice wines. Italian restaurants, certainly. So make sure you're putting the obvious in there as well as the not so easy for customers to tell. So that will get you up and running. So there's a bit of work to be done there as those 4 steps. But the good news is once you've done it, the bulk of your sort of initial setup work now is being completed. If you've got everything lined up and everything's all waiting at your fingertips, it's probably only going to take about an hour and a half, 2 hours or something like that. And then you can then sit back. Well, but sort of, you can't really. You need to do a little bit of housekeeping week by week just to scale up now your return on this and just to hone in on really what Google's looking for and your customers are looking for. So once you've done the initial setup, week to week, I want you to have a look at, oh, we've just gone a little bit ahead of ourselves. I want you to have a look at keyword research. So keep adding to those keywords. Geotagging, maybe a term you've not come across. I'm going to talk about it in just a second. I want you to reply to reviews. I want you to report spam to Google. I want you to monitor your profile. So there's nothing on there that you would that you're sad to see, or anything where they're talking about Australia in the example or anything like that. You need to get that stuff off there and keep your profile nice and tight and niche towards your customer. Track your flags. Now you can go onto Google Maps with an account, and it will show you how your restaurant will be doing in the local area. And it's got a series of little flags. So around Tamworth, which is a very small town, it's probably only about 4 miles across by about 3 miles across. There's about 30 flags that cover Tamworth. So you can imagine each flag just spread out across a map is covering about a square half a mile or maybe less. And you need to track how your flags are performing. So as you go into your map, you'll see a number on the flags all over the screen. And it'll have a number, I think it's 1 to 4, but you want to get it to number 1 or number 2 in every single area. Definitely number 1 for a good square couple of miles all around where you're based. So track your flags every week, and then we'll do some work to get you higher up the listing, and the keywords will help, but the geotagging that I'm about to share with you will make a massive difference. Can you create new stuff and services? This is really important because Google's wondering whether you're active. They don't know. They're not actually physically visiting. So if you can keep adding bits and pieces, like creating new stuff, new services fairly regularly, if there's photographs being posted or stuff to your profile, if you're repurposing that and talking about it in different social media and relating it all back to your Google Maps site, then this will really help get you boosted up the Google ranking here around maps specifically. Make sure you've got Google-friendly Q&A. And the last thing people forget often, sync your social media profiles. Just because it may not be on Google doesn't mean they're not looking. So if you've got your Twitter, you've got your Insta, you've got your TikTok, you've got your Snapchat profiles, you've got your whatever else it is that you're using, your LinkedIn, make sure everything is pointing in the same direction at the Google map. Make sure that it's got very niche, make sure it's all using keywords, make sure everything is looking uniform and all telling Google that it's come to the right place. And that will do wonders for your positioning on Google Maps. I just want to go back to geotagging. I think this is really a bit of a secret weapon for you to go and get in a high up on Google ranking and the Google Maps. Now, I only use Apple phone for updating my profile, so I need to check if it's on Android. But get somebody with an Apple phone, take a couple of photographs, get your customers, your happy customers, to leave testimonials regularly. Start getting to get photographs out, get their phone out, start linking in with your business and making sure they're putting regular reviews on your profile. Now, the next thing that you need to do on the back of that is, if you go into the pictures that are being tagged to your business, there's a little bit of code in there that tells Apple and Google where the photograph has been taken. So what you need to do is just make sure that that is tagging correctly where you want it to tag. Now, if you have got number 1 flags all around for 2 square miles around your business, then the next thing I would start to do is to have a look at if I can geotag into the next neighboring bit that I want to go in to have a look in. Let's say some of the flags up in the northeast section of your map are saying that you're ranked with a number 4 instead of a number 1, and you want to get to the number 1 position. You can start to move the location on the pictures within that are tagged into your company. And as you do that more and more, any areas around where you're based will start to bring the flag system up again to number one. So you start around where you're based and then use geotagging to slowly but surely spread out, and really think now long and hard, because it's almost infinite. It's almost the whole globe before you could stop. But what I really want you to think about is where your customer is, or who your customer is, how far they will really travel for your goods or services. And then really just make sure you're dominating that area on Google. So whilst it might sound onerous to just keep going out and out and out for your flag, I think realistically, if you're in a retail operation and you're doing really well in a 12-mile radius, for most people in a town or a city, that will be a lot more people that you can handle. So just get really good at getting to number one in the local area that matters most to your customer and to you as a business. Right, I'm going to end it there. This is one subject area I could just talk about for such a long time. Geotagging will probably need its own video, and I might do one if I get enough people ask me. I'll come back to it and explain how it all works. But if you go and have a play, it's all intuitive stuff. You'll start to find it. If you want to talk about keywords and things like that, I will go back and we'll do a few bits and pieces and really start to get under the skin of it. So I think there'll be some spin-off videos, but don't be deterred or don't wait. Get stuck into what we've talked about today, first of all, because it will have a massive, massive positive effect for you and your business very, very quickly. It will literally take probably like a couple of weeks to really start noticing that you're going up the Google rankings. And within a month or so, you should really start to reap some rewards here. I've probably caused you lots more questions than answers today, and that's all right, because there's further help and advice available. So you can come to me for some free help and advice. And I've mentioned my friend earlier who does this for other businesses. So he's certainly by no means the only person who does it. But if you're stuck and don't know anybody that you think will help you with this, or you just don't fancy it, or you're a bit lost, and actually you just want that job taken off your calendar and somebody else to do it, then still reach out, entrepreneurship@globalbanking.ac.uk. My name's Ed Pearson. Ask for me. I'll get a few things sorted out for you, whatever it is. Maybe that's time in the diary so we can speak, or maybe it's an introduction to somebody that can help you do all of this. Whatever you choose to do, I hope it's something that you're going to positively go out, take what we've talked about today and implement it for your business. But whatever you choose to do, either way, I hope we get to speak soon and meet up. I hope you've enjoyed the session today. It's part of the Try It series for Global Banking School. There's a number of other videos. I hope you subscribe to our channel, and we will toast your success that will surely follow by doing that. I hope to speak to you again soon. I'll catch you very, very shortly.